Global supply chain disruptions and their impact. Introduction. Global supply chains are the backbone of modern economics, facilitating the movement of goods and services across borders and ensuring that businesses can meet consumer demand in an efficient manner. However, over the past few years, global supply chains have faced significant disruptions, with far-reaching consequences for economies, industries, and consumers worldwide. These disruptions have been caused by a variety of factors, including natural disasters, geopolitical tensions, the COVID-19 pandemic, and technological vulnerabilities. This article explores the causes, effects, and future implications of global supply chain disruptions, examining how they have impacted different sectors and what can be done to build more resilient supply chains in the future. Number 1. Understanding global supply chains. Definition of global supply chains. A global supply chain refers to the network of organizations, resources, activities, and technologies involved in the production, handling, and disruption of goods from suppliers to end consumers. These chains often span across multiple countries and continents, enabling businesses to take advantage of cost efficiencies, access global markets, and optimize production processes. Key components. Global supply chains typically include raw material suppliers, manufacturers, distribution centers, logistics providers, and retailers. The efficiency and smooth functioning of these components are critical to the success of global commerce. Number 2. Factors contributing to supply chain disruptions. Supply chain disruptions are influenced by both external and internal factors that can cause delays, increase costs, and reduce overall efficiency. Natural disasters. Earthquakes, hurricanes, floods, and other natural disasters can damage infrastructure, halt production, and disrupt transportation, leading to significant delays in the flow of goods. Geopolitical tension. Trade wars, political instability, and tariffs imposed by governments can create uncertainties and disrupt supply chains, especially when international relations deteriorate. Pandemic and health crisis. The COVID-19 pandemic demonstrated how a global health crisis could create massive supply chain disruptions. Factory shutdowns, workforce shortages, and changes in consumer demand resulted in bottlenecks across various industries. Cybersecurity threats. The increasing reliance on digital technologies and interconnected systems has made supply chains more vulnerable to cyber attacks, which can cause significant operational disruptions. Number 3. The impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on global supply chains. The COVID-19 pandemic highlighted the fragility of global supply chains as countries implemented lockdowns and border closure to control the spread of the virus. Factory shutdowns and labor shortages. During the pandemic, many factories around the world temporarily closed due to government restrictions or labor shortages, disrupting production schedules and reducing the availability of goods. Logistical bottlenecks. With restrictions on movement, there were severe disruptions in transportation networks, including shipping delays, port congestion, and limited air cargo availability. This made it difficult for companies to move products across borders. Changes in consumer behavior. The pandemic led to changes in consumer demand, with a surge in e-commerce and a sudden decline in demand for certain goods, like luxury items, while essential goods saw an increase in demand. This shift created challenges for companies in predicting demand and adjusting their supply chains accordingly. Number 4. Disruptions in key industries. Certain industries have been more vulnerable to supply chain disruptions due to their reliance on global networks for sourcing raw materials and components. Technology and electronics. The semiconductor shortage, exacerbated by the pandemic, highlighted the vulnerability of the technology sector. Disruptions in the supply of chips led to delays in the production of smartphones, cars, computers, and other tech products. Automotive industry. The automotive sector faced significant supply chain disruptions as production halted due to the lack of key components like microchips. Car manufacturers were forced to halt or reduce production, resulting in inventory shortages and delays in vehicle deliveries. Healthcare. The global shortage of personal protective equipment, ventilators, and medical supplies during the early stages of the COVID-19 pandemic exposed the fragility of global supply chains in the healthcare sector. Governments and healthcare providers struggled to secure critical supplies, leading to panic buying and hoarding. Number 5. Economic consequences of supply chain disruptions. The economic effects of global supply chain disruptions are far-reaching, affecting both developed and developing economies in various ways. Increased costs. Supply chain disruptions often lead to higher costs for businesses as companies have to pay more for shipping, raw materials, and labor. These increased costs are often passed on to consumers in the form of higher prices, leading to inflationary pressures. Reduced economic growth. Disruptions in supply chains can slow down economic activity, especially in industries reliant on timely delivery of goods. When businesses cannot source components or products on time, their production processes are delayed, which negatively impacts GDP growth. Unemployment. In some cases, supply chain disruptions can lead to job losses, particularly in industries heavily dependent on global supply chains. If production lines are shut down or scaled back, workers may face layoffs or reduced working hours. Number 6. Impact on small and medium-sized enterprises. While large corporations have the resources to absorb the effects of supply chain disruptions, small and medium-sized enterprises are often more vulnerable to such shocks. Financial constraints. SMEs generally have less financial flexibility and may struggle to cope with the rising costs of raw materials, transportation, and delays in product delivery. Limited access to resources. Smaller companies often lack the bargaining power to negotiate better terms with suppliers or logistics providers, making it harder for them to secure the materials or services needed to maintain operations. Number 7. Impact on global trade. Global trade has been severely impacted by supply chain disruptions, as many countries depend on the free flow of goods to sustain their economies. Decreased trade volume. Disruptions in shipping, logistics, and transportation networks have led to a decrease in global trade volumes, as it has become more difficult to move goods across international borders. Rising protectionism. The economic downturn caused by supply chain disruptions has led to a rise in protectionist policies, with countries imposing tariffs and trade restrictions to safeguard their domestic industries. Number 8. The role of technology in addressing supply chain challenges. Technology has played a significant role in both exacerbating and addressing supply chain disruptions, as companies increasingly rely on digital solutions to optimize their supply chain operations. Automation and robotics. The use of robots in warehouses and automated production lines can reduce the dependency on human labor, thus mitigating labor shortages caused by pandemics or other disruptions. Artificial intelligence and data analytics. AI can help companies predict and manage disruptions by analyzing real-time data, enabling them to adjust their strategies quickly and minimize the impact of disruptions. Blockchain technology. Blockchain can improve transparency and traceability within supply chains, helping companies identify vulnerabilities and mitigate the risk of disruptions. Number 9. Sustainability and resilient supply chains. In light of recent disruptions, there is a growing focus on creating more sustainable and resilient supply chains that can withstand future shocks. Sustainable practices. Companies are increasingly focusing on sustainability within their supply chains, including reducing their carbon footprint, using renewable energy, and sourcing materials responsibly. Diversification of suppliers. To reduce reliance on a single source or country, many companies are diversifying their suppliers and production facilities across different regions, which can reduce the risk of major disruptions in the future. Number 10. The future of global supply chains. Looking ahead, the future of global supply chains will be shaped by a combination of technological advancements, geopolitical shifts, and new consumer demands. Shift towards regionalization. There may be a shift from global supply chains to more localized or regionalized supply chains, reducing the risks associated with international trade and transportation disruptions. Increased digitalization. The future of supply chains will likely involve greater digitalization, with more companies adopting advanced technologies such as AI, machine learning, and IoT to enable supply chain visibility and decision-making. Number 11. Risk management in supply chains. Effective risk management is crucial for minimizing the impact of future disruptions. Risk mitigation strategies. Companies must adopt strategies such as diversifying suppliers, building buffer inventories, and creating flexible contracts with logistics providers to better manage supply chain risks. Scenario planning. Businesses should engage in scenario planning to anticipate potential supply chain disruptions and develop contingency plans for various crisis situations. Number 12. Policy and government response to supply chain disruptions. Governments play a crucial role in addressing the challenges posed by global supply chain disruptions. Regulation and trade policies. Governments can introduce regulations to improve supply chain transparency and accountability, while also fostering international cooperation to address global trade disruptions. Investment in infrastructure. Governments can support the resilience of global supply chains by investing in infrastructure, including ports, airports, and transportation networks, to ensure the smooth movement of goods across borders. Number 13. Long-term economic implications. While supply chain disruptions may cause short-term economic pain, they can also create opportunities for long-term economic transformation. Shift in economic models. Disruptions could lead to the reconfiguration of global economic models, where countries and companies prioritize resilience over efficiency, leading to more decentralized supply chains. Innovation and growth. The challenges faced by global supply chains will drive innovation in technology, logistics, and business practices, potentially leading to new industries and economic growth in the long term. Conclusion. Global supply chain disruptions have far-reaching economic consequences, affecting industries, consumers, and governments around the world. While these disruptions highlight the vulnerabilities in current supply chain models, they also present opportunities for innovation and the creation of more resilient, sustainable systems. Moving forward, companies, governments, and other stakeholders must work together to enhance supply chain resilience through diversification, technological investment, and improved risk management practices to better prepare for future disruptions.